Hello guys, welcome to MJ Real Stories channel. Today we are diving into one of the most whispered about moments in pop culture history, a single photograph that fans claim the Michael Jackson estate never wanted the public to see, a photo that has fueled debates, theories, emotions, and endless curiosity for years. And before we go any further, let me be clear that this story is not about disrespect. It is about understanding the power of image, legacy, and why one frame frozen in time could matter so much in the story of the most famous entertainer who ever lived. Because when it comes to Michael Jackson, nothing was ever just a picture. It was a message, a symbol, and sometimes a battleground. Michael Jackson was not only a singer or a dancer, he was a carefully crafted global image. From the moment he stepped into the spotlight as a child with the Jackson 5, the world watched every move he made, every smile, every glove, every hat tilt. And as he grew older, his image became even more controlled, more deliberate, and more powerful, because Michael understood something very few artists ever truly grasp, that perception can shape reality, and once perception slips out of your control, it can redefine your entire life. Which is why photographs of Michael Jackson were never random. They were moments selected, approved, staged, or at the very least carefully managed. For decades, official images of Michael Jackson followed a familiar pattern: the confident superstar on stage, the gentle humanitarian surrounded by children, the mysterious fashion icon with sunglasses and masks, and the soft, spoken artist expressing love and peace. These images reinforced version of Michael that the public recognized and in many ways needed. But behind the scenes there were other photographs, candid moments captured by paparazzi, bystanders, or insiders, images that did not fit neatly into the narrative. And it is one of these photos that became known among fans as the one the estate didn't want you to see. This photograph, depending on who you ask, exists in slightly different versions, but the core idea remains the same. It shows Michael Jackson in a moment of extreme vulnerability, not the polished king of pop, not the invincible legend, but a human being caught off guard, tired, fragile, and unmistakably real. Some describe it as Michael looking physically weak. Others say emotionally exposed, and a few claim it captures him during a private medical moment, though no verified evidence confirms the most extreme rumors, and that uncertainty is exactly what gave the photo its power. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, control over his image officially shifted to the estate, whose responsibility was to protect his legacy, manage his intellectual property, and ensure that his name continued to represent excellence rather than controversy. From a business and branding perspective, this made sense because Michael Jackson was not just an artist, he was a multi-billion-dollar legacy, and any image that could be interpreted as damaging, disturbing, or exploitable posed a serious risk to that legacy, especially in a world where one viral image can permanently alter public opinion. Fans began to notice that certain photographs that circulated briefly online would suddenly disappear. Forums would go quiet, links would break, and accounts sharing the image would be suspended or pressured to remove it. And while some of this can be explained by copyright enforcement, others believed it went deeper, that the estate was actively suppressing specific images that showed Michael in a way they felt the world was not ready or not entitled to see, and that belief fueled the myth of the forbidden photo. What made this particular image so unsettling for many fans was not that it was scandalous, but that it was painfully human. Michael appeared exhausted, possibly ill, with none of the theatrical armor he usually wore. And for a man who spent his entire life performing strength, grace, and control, seeing him stripped of that was emotionally jarring. Some fans described feeling heartbroken, others felt protective, and many asked the same question: Do we really need to see this? The estate's alleged desire to keep such a photo out of public view can be understood when you consider Michael's lifelong struggle with privacy. From childhood he was photographed relentlessly, often without consent, often at his lowest moments, and by the end of his life the line between public interest and personal invasion had been completely erased. So if there was indeed an effort to limit the spread of a photo that captured him at his most vulnerable, some argue it was an act of respect rather than secrecy. But there is another side to this story, one that fans continue to debate passionately, and that is the belief that hiding such images prevents the world from fully understanding what Michael Jackson went through. The physical pain, the emotional isolation, the pressure of fame, and the toll it took on his body and mind. Supporters of this view argue that the photo humanizes him, that it breaks the myth of the untouchable icon and replaces it with something more honest and compassionate. A man who gave everything to his art and paid a heavy price for it. Over time, the photo became less about what it showed and more about what it represented. The struggle between truth and protection, between legacy and reality, between a fan's desire to know everything and an artist's right to dignity. And as with many things in Michael Jackson's life, there was no simple answer, because Michael himself lived in those contradictions, craving love yet fearing exposure, seeking connection yet building walls. Interestingly, every time discussion of the photo resurfaces, it reignites a broader conversation about how society treats its legends. We celebrate them while they shine, but we often turn away when they suffer, and when images surface that remind us our heroes are mortal, uncomfortable questions emerge. Did we ask too much? Did we listen too little? And did we contribute to the very pain we now mourn? The internet has amplified this tension, because once something is uploaded, it is nearly impossible to erase completely. Yet the fact that this particular image remains elusive, fragmented, and disputed has only strengthened its symbolic power. It has become a modern myth, a reminder that even in the digital age some things can still be hidden, or at least protected, if enough effort and intent are applied. Michael Jackson's relationship with his own image was complex and deeply personal. He reinvented himself constantly, not out of deception, but out of survival. Each new era was a shield, a way to stay ahead of judgment, criticism, and misunderstanding. So when people ask why the estate would not want a certain photo scene, the answer may lie in honoring that lifelong effort to control how the world saw him. At the same time, fans continue to seek authenticity, not perfection, and for many, seeing Michael as human does not diminish him, it elevates him. It makes his achievements even more remarkable, because they were accomplished despite pain, despite pressure, and despite a level of scrutiny few could survive. And that is why the debate over this one photo refuses to fade away. In the end, whether you believe the photo was intentionally hidden or simply faded into obscurity, its story reveals something profound about Michael Jackson's legacy, that he was more than an image, more than a brand, and more than a headline. He was a person whose life unfolded under the harshest spotlight imaginable, and whose vulnerabilities were often overshadowed by his brilliance. Perhaps the real reason this photo matters is not because it shows something shocking, but because it challenges us to rethink how we remember Michael Jackson, not just as the king of pop, but as a human being who felt pain, exhaustion, and loneliness, and who still managed to create music and performances that brought joy to billions. And if protecting that dignity was the goal, then maybe some images truly were never meant for the world to see. So the next time you hear about the one photo the estate didn't want you to see, ask yourself what you are really looking for: scandal or understanding, curiosity or compassion. Because Michael Jackson's story is not defined by a single image, hidden or revealed. It is defined by a lifetime of art, sacrifice, and an enduring impact that no photograph could ever erase. And with that reflection in mind, thanks for watching.